Present now a Windows.
This call is now being recorded.
Okay. Bengkel GC Plus. All right. Okay, again, can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, very
Yes.
good. Okay, thank you for your response. So today we continue our lesson. Are you ready? I hope you are ready, yeah, because today I want to complete all the topic in chapter 1, yeah, all the topic in chapter 1. Please be remind any activity that we need to do based on the textbook, we try to do after the school reopening. Okay, again, yeah, I just want to teach you the theory only. Okay, because there are many, maybe there are 2 or 3 activities that you need to do it by yourself, the practical, because science got practical side of it also. Okay, so maybe after the school reopening, we go to the lab and then we try to do all the activity involving the experiment or what. Okay, so we continue our lesson for today. You can open your textbook also. I just refer to your textbook also, yeah. Page 33, subtopic 1.6. This is the step in a scientific investigation. Okay, each step in a scientific investigation. Right? So what is the scientific investigation, and then what are the steps involving scientific investigation? Okay, before that, we are already learned about science. What is science? Okay, because as if you still remember, science is what? Science is the branches of knowledge. Okay, science is the branches of knowledge where you want to find the explanation. You have something, you maybe brought up a problem, or maybe you have a issue, problem. You need to know what is the answer for that problem. What type of problem? Maybe the problem that is around us. Okay, for example, how the formation of rain, for example, or maybe how rainbow is formed, for example. There are many, if you can observe the things or the phenomenon around us, we can see the phenomenon or the condition or what happening around us. Everything that happen around us has an explanation. Okay, so in order to get that explanation, in order to get that answer of what happening around us, we need to do scientific investigation. Investigation maknanya kamu menyiasat. You want to know how the process, you want to know what is going on when you observe the phenomena around you. So you need to have scientific investigation. And then the scientific investigation has the step in it. Okay, there is a step, langkah-langkah that you need to follow accordingly. Okay, correctly. The arrangement of the step, number 1, number 2, until number 10, in order to get the answer. Okay, this is what we're going to learn about step in scientific investigation. All right, so I continue. This is what we call by science process skill. Science process skill, I think you already learned this in your primary school. I will skip this because I think you already learned about this in your primary school. There are 12 what we call important science process skill. Okay, number 1, observing, classifying, measuring and using number, making inference. Okay, inference. And later we go through what is inference, if you still remember. Predicting, communicating, use the time-space relationship, interpreting data, defining operationally, controlling variables, making a hypothesis, and experimenting. Okay. Do you need to remember this? Maybe no need to remember this. You no need to remember this. Okay. This is just for your what we call understanding only. Okay. One of the 12 important science process skill. Science process skill. In order to get the what? In order to get the information, in order to get the answer, you need to have this process, a science process skill. Okay. Again, I remind you, science is a branches of knowledge to study. To study the what? To study the nature, to study the environment. We cannot just accept what happened. You need to give you a scientific evidence, right? Everything that happened around us need explanation, have an explanation, how it's going on. So in order for you to get the answer, you need to do scientific investigation. This is all science about. And then after you know what happened, so you get the answer, and then you can tell. Maybe you can teach everyone else that do not know what is the happening, what is going on what is going on in our life, in the environment, including us as human. Okay, right? Is it okay? So we continue. So next one, page 34 is the scientific method. Method is what? Method is what the the other word for method is the way. All right. Again, what is the scientific method? It's used to solve problem in science. Okay. Science is always about solving problem. And then maybe if you cannot solve the problem, you will create a theory. What is theory? Theory. Because sometimes, class, sometimes, when you already do the experiment, you already follow the scientific investigation. You try to investigate what happened. And then sometimes the answer or the explanation is not conclusive. Okay. Maybe the answer is not what we call the evidence that we have is not strong. So they will develop a theory. Okay. Theory mean the result or the explanation that may be true. That may be true. Okay. After they do the investigation, they come up with the theory. If the answer is not conclusive, if the answer is not strong enough for people to believe, so they come out with a theory. And then the theory, if other people, if other scientists do the same experiment, and then they also create another theory, that theory also can be accepted as the answer. So this is the theory. But don't worry, usually in our Form 1, Form 2 science, the experiment we do is already what we call concluded. So we just repeat we just try to repeat the experiment that is already proven in science. Okay, so again, you go back to my presentation here. You call it the scientific method. Is the method or the ways to solve problem in science. Okay, there are a few steps you need to remember. Okay, in this topic, there are a few steps that you need to remember to enable, all right, to enable a problem to be solved or explained using the correct method. Okay, this is based on the textbook lah. You cannot simply do the experiment without guide. There always be a guide. That's why it is important in science. Not only you able to what we call do the calculation, but In science also, you must very be good in language. In language, either BM or English. But for Form 1 Alpha, you are using English, right? You must be able to understand the English structure. You must be what we call well-versed, well-versed, and then what we call that fasih lah, fasih berbahasa Inggris ataupun BM. But in this case, in English, right? You are competent enough in English. One alpha, I think there's no problem with language, right? One alpha, no problem with the language. But some of the terms, scientific terms, there is another one. There is another things. But just basic structure of language or the sentence, I think you can. Everyone is good enough for your English or the language, right? So what is the method number 1? Okay, method number 1, in order to solve the problem, you need to create one. Not to create one, if you do not have to create one, you need to identify the problem. Okay, how to identify the problem? Usually by your curiosity, perasaan ingin tahu. Because maybe many scientists, many famous scientists, many years ago, they discover, when they discover something, when they discover the answer or the explanation is based on their curiosity. Okay, but that's why it is very important in science. You have that sense of curiosity, need to know something. Okay, you need to know why is this happening. For example, you need to know the formation of rainbow. You need to know how car is moved. That is what we call by curiosity. Okay, and then by the curiosity will form a problem, or you will find the problem, and then we need to solve that problem. This is step number 1. You identify the problem, but make sure problem in science that could be tested with a scientific investigation. All right. For example, here I give you example here for you, easy for you to remember. Okay, the girl here, can you see the picture here? The picture here, the girl spilled the water, and then what is their problem? You can try to create the problem statement by creating a question sentence. For example, what the question sentence here is, what can I use to absorb the water quickly? So this is the problem statement, or the identify a problem. Okay, can you understand? Number 1, step number 1, you identify a problem. You ask yourself the problem. What is the problem here? Okay, in the form of what? In the form of maybe question. Okay, can you understand this? Right. So the second one, after you identify the problem, you need to construct a hypothesis. Hypothesis. Okay, this word, maybe you can try to remember what is the hypothesis. Yeah? Hypothesis is the what? Initial explanation of the observation or the phenomenon being investigated. Initial explanation. You try to guess. What we call, you try to explain what happened, or you try to answer your problem. You try to answer back your problem, but make sure the hypothesis need to be tested. Hypothesis need to be tested whether it is true or false. Okay, initial explanation. Hypothesis, just an initial explanation. Okay, you look at the picture there. What is the example of hypothesis? Okay, maybe in your mind, recent what we call recent experience, cloth towel can absorb water, and then tissue paper also can absorb paper. But which one you think can absorb paper quickly, or can absorb the paper more? So this is what we call a hypothesis. Okay, you have you have two material here, cloth, towel, and then tissue paper. Huh? Maybe you can try to guess between these two material, which one will absorb the water quickly. So this is the hypothesis. Okay, hypothesis you must be able to test the hypothesis before you can conclude the scientific investigation. Yeah. Okay, number 3. Control variables. Variables. Okay, this is the terms number 2. Variables. Okay, hypothesis. Number 1, problem. Number 1, you try to identify the problem. Number 2, you try to form the hypothesis. Number 3, control the variable. So what is variable? Variable is the physical quantity that influence the observation. Physical quantity. Okay, you still remember what is physical quantity, class? We already learned this. Anybody can tell me the example of physical quantity? Anybody? What is the example of physical quantities? I think in topic 1.3. Yes. Anybody?
Kilo.
Physical. Yes. Repeat again.
Meter.
Meter.
Kilogram.
Yes, meter, kilogram. How many? There are 5, right? Okay. Length, mass, temperature. What else? Length, mass, temperature.
Time.
Time. Yes, very good. And
Electric current.
electric current. So that, yes, very good. Yes, I heard you. I hear you. Electrical current. Okay. Physical quantities. Okay. I want to ask you something. Based on the picture here, what is the variable that can you try to tell me what is the variable based on the picture there? Can you identify the variable there? Can I? Physical quantities. Length meaning what? Length meaning the meter lah. Meaning the how big or how small the what we call the variable. Okay. Again, for example, if you look at the picture, for example here, the variable here are what? The type of what? The type of material. Can you understand me? Can you follow me? For example, the type of material. One is what? Number 1. What is the material? Number 1. Can you see the picture?
Tower.
Yes, clock tower. And then number 2?
Tissue paper.
Yes, number 2 is tissue paper. So this is the variable. Example of variable. Type of material, maybe a tissue paper, and then a clock tower. Or number 2, you can say the size of cloth paper. The size of tissue paper or the size of cloth towel. That also variable. Okay, because if you change the variable, maybe the result of the experiment also change. Okay, never mind. There are 3 types of variable. There are constant. Number 1, there are responding variable, and there are manipulated variable. After you come to school, we try to do the experiment. I will explain you hands-on during your practical later. Okay, you just remember manipulated, constant, and responding variable. Later we do the experiment. All right. So number 4. After you identify the variables, you need to plan an experiment. Why you need to plan the experiment? Because you need to choose the right material and then the right apparatus for the experiment. Now you still remember material and apparatus. Huh? Apparatus is the tool. You already learned about the basic apparatus in the lab 1.1.2. Topic 1.2, you already learned the apparatus, right? For example, the test tube, the measuring cylinder, okay? And then material. What is the example of material? Material. Apparatus is the tool. Material is what? Material, for example, a chemical. Or in this experiment, water. Water is the material lah, because once you use it, you cannot use it again. When you use it, sorry, excuse me. When you use the material, it will finish. You cannot reuse it again. So that is the material. For example, what? Water or salt or sugar. Once you use it, you cannot use it anymore. You need to discard it. You need to throw it away. But apparatus, for example, test tube, boiling tube, beaker, you can reuse and reuse it again. After you use it, you wash it and then you use it again. That's the apparatus and material. Yeah. All right. Next one, number 5. You need, after that, you need to conduct an experiment. Conduct mean what? Conduct mean you need to do the experiment yourself. Okay. Again, after when you are doing your experiment, there are precautions. We must practice all the time. You must follow the instruction. You must not haste. You must not careless. Okay, in order to do the experiment, because some of the experiment we want to do later involve dangerous substance. Okay, chemical substance. That's why in order to do the experiment, all the precaution you must take into action, precaution. Because inside the lab, there are many apparatus, there are many material. You cannot run up what you call chase your friend and then you run everywhere inside the lab. You cannot do that. Okay, why? Because to prevent accident. There are many accidents inside the lab. When the glasses break, when the test tube, because test tube apparatus, the beaker is made from the glass, and then when the glass fall into the floor, it will break, and then maybe if you are not cautious enough, maybe you can hurt yourself. All right, so this is what we call, you must always what we call precaution, and then always follow the safety measure. Right. You conduct the experiment. Number 6, after you conduct the experiment, you must collect the data. Okay. How to collect the data? By your observation. When you try to do the experiment, you need to observe carefully what is the changes happening there. And then the changes, you must need to collect the data. Okay, how to collect the data? Using suitable instrument. Okay, this also we already learned. Right, instrument. You give me one example of instrument. We already learned in 1.4. For example, in order for you to measure the volume of water, what you need, you think? To measure the volume of water, what is the
Measuring cylinder.
measuring? Very good, thank you very much. Yes, correct. You can use measuring cylinder. Okay, if you want to measure the size, you might use ruler. Okay, depending on the physical quantities that you want to measure. All right. And then please take into consideration any random or systematic error that might occur. Okay, we are already learned about random error, systematic error, okay, and then parallax error. Still remember parallax error? All right. When you are measuring things, your eye level must be parallel to the unit You need at the instrument. Okay, we already learned about this type of error. This type of error. And then said here, the measurement must carry out at least 3 times to obtain more accurate and precise reading. Okay, maybe you can ask, you work in group, maybe after you take the measurement, you can give the instrument to your friend and then ask them to also take the same measurement. Okay, at least 3 times. Why we need to take the measurement 3 times? Okay, sorry ya. Okay, ada Mr. Lee come and see me. No, never mind. Okay, can I continue? Why we need to take the reading 3 times? Because we want to get more accurate and more precise measurement. We need to eliminate the error. For example, your friend said 20 milliliter, and then your other friend said 21 milliliter. And then your other friend said 21 millimeter also. Because they are random error, right? So you need 3 times, and then maybe you can do what we call you can do the average. You sum it all, total all the reading, and then you divide it by the how many times you do the experiment. Okay. All right. Number 7, analyze and interpret the data. Okay. Data can be recorded in the form of table. Okay, and then in the form of table, you can communicate or you can convert the table into the form of chart here. Okay, this is one of the what we call graph. There are many types of graph. There are line graph, there are bar chart, and inside here, figure 1.28. This one is the bar chart. Okay, I think you already learned this in primary school, because the evidence or the data you have been recorded, you must be able to transfer or to convert it into maybe the diagram, a diagram such as the bar chart or the graph here. Okay, why we need to analyze and interpret the data? To assist us to easily interpret the data. More easier for us to see the difference, for example. Okay, for example, here the tissue paper here, after you do the experiment, you can say that tissue paper only about 12 milliliter. It can only absorb 12 milliliter of water, right? And then for the cloth, it's able to maybe about 22 or 21 centimeter cubic of water. Why we need to do the graph here? To see clearly the difference between 2 material. All right, that's why we need to use the graph or just a simple table. Table jadual pun boleh digunakan, ya. All right, and then number 8, you make the conclusion. Based on the data that you obtain, you do the conclusion, and then last one, you write a report. Okay, and then what you need to include in your report: number 1, problem statement, hypothesis, aim, variables, material, procedure, observation, analysis, and conclusion. Okay, these the things that you need to include in your reports. Maybe not all, but some of them you must include in your reports. Don't worry, like I said earlier, this is just a theory. Later on, when you go to school, we will try to conduct the real experiment. Okay, for example, this one, page 30.
36.
Yes, 36. Yes, this experiment we'll try to do this in the school, when you come to the school, right? Okay, last one. This is just 1.7 scientific attitude, because now it's about getting near to 10 a.m. Scientific attitude and values. You just can read it for yourself. Just the values or the moral values or the good value you need in order to carry scientific investigation. Very fast I go here. What are the value? Positive. You see the value, right? Nilai-nilai macam moral lah, macam pendidikan moral. But in order, when you are doing the scientific investigation, you must always think positive. You must always interested in something. Curious, honest, responsible, and what else? Appreciate appreciate the environment. You appreciate our body, and then polite, respect each other, grateful. This is example of the noble value or the value towards experimenting in science. This one 1.7, very easy one, right? And then you can read it for yourself. Can Okay. Any problem before we stop here?
No.
Okay. If there is no problem, so we stop here. We finish chapter 1. Theory side in chapter 1, we already finished. Okay. I think we can stop here. If you have any problem, like usual, you can always ask me on our Telegram group. Okay. All right. So the instruction for your exercise for today, I will give you on the Telegram. All right. So if you have no problem, I think now it's already 10 a.m. I think we can stop our class here, and then we see you all again when? Tomorrow, right? Is it tomorrow? Our next class?
Thursday.
Okay, in Thursday. Yes, very good. Sorry. So we see you all again in Thursday. So see you again later. Thank you for joining my class. Okay, you can leave the class now. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you. See you all in Thursday, right?